This is Local 22 News at 6.
No more creating heartbreak for people just trying to live their lives as normal New Yorkers. It has to end, and it ends now.
10 people shot in a Brooklyn subway, 5 critically. And developing now, police may have found the U-Haul connected to this. But first, breaking moments ago, New York's lieutenant governor has resigned hours after his arrest this morning. Good evening. Thanks for being with us. I'm Lauren Maloney.
It was pretty emotional, overwhelming really, but just glad to be back in Vermont, glad to be with my family, and it was an important mission and I'm glad I did it, but I'm also just over the moon to be back.
More from that beautiful reunion in just a few minutes. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren Maloney.
I look back at my 48 years here in the Senate and I say, when will we say enough? Enough.
Senator Patrick Leahy with an emotional plea to Congress, one he's made before. Vermont State Police want this man to surrender, 45-year-old Jay Wilson. They say he was involved in a deadly shooting in Woodstock earlier today that had neighbors locking their doors and businesses staying put. Inflation is impacting summer plans however you travel. How are families coping with the rising prices from gas to flights? And that, by the way, a live look at BTV on a Friday night. Good evening. We appreciate you joining us. I'm Lauren Maloney. A volunteer who leapt into action after disaster hit. Coming up, we'll meet a Vermonter who did more than was asked after Hurricane Irene. And a major milestone for one organization, how the Knights of Columbus works with the Red Cross. Chittenden County will have more representation in the State House coming up. The governor signs off on new redistricting maps, what it means for the state's largest county. And students speak with Vermont lawmakers about a ban on tobacco products.
Well, finding a parking spot in Burlington might be a little bit more difficult this summer than usual, and not because of the many events returning to the Queen City either. On Local 44 News at 10, I'll have details about a more than $500,000 project at one of the city's parking garages.
2,000 high schoolers go for the Guinness World Record in a game they probably played in kindergarten. What record students at 3 Indiana schools are planning to break? A bill to remove puppy mills is making its way through the Empire State. What this legislation does to pet shops in New York. And building a home in front of the Capitol to support affordable home ownership, Habitat for Humanity fights for more accessibility in New York. 1 month since the Buffalo supermarket shooting, and that store may reopen soon. A survivor says they just want to be included in the conversation before decisions are made. And could gun stores be asked to share a role in gun safety? Lawmakers will have another decision to make in New York. Closer to home, more than 100 Vermont National Guard soldiers are back from Kosovo. Local 22's Dana Casulo is live in Colchester, where she watched families reunite just a few hours ago. Hi, Dana.
Lauren, today was the largest return of soldiers from the deployment starting in 2021. I spoke with family members who say this day was a long time coming.
As we just mentioned, plenty of things to do this weekend for people of all ages, so accordingly we have live coverage from the 37th Annual Kids Weekend in Burlington, as well as from the sold-out Waking Windows Music Festival in Winooski. That's where Local 22's Sam Israel is, but we'll get to him in the Onion City shortly. Before we do, let's return to the Queen City, where there's plenty of fun planned for kids. Over the next 3 days, Lauren and Haley Boulay are at Roosevelt Park in the Old North End. Lauren, what's going on? And students at one high school in our region walk out in support of the victims in Uvalde. Tonight, those students and parents are sharing concerns about the shooting spree. And Local 22's Dana Casulo has live coverage for us from Essex High School tonight. Dana?
Mike, hundreds of students walked out those doors demanding action after the horrific events at Robb Elementary. Parents say they're scared to send their children to school.
Good afternoon. We thank you for joining us here on Local 44. We are cutting into the programming this afternoon as two regional governors deliver their State of the State address. I am Lauren Maloney. New York Governor Kathy Hochul just wrapped up hers. We will have a full report on that later tonight. She was in front of the General Assembly with a very limited crowd. Her speech went about 40 minutes. And we are now awaiting Governor Phil Scott's sixth address of his kind in his third term, his second in front of a nearly empty room and not in House chambers due to rising cases of COVID-19. We do know the General Assembly has just convened and we are waiting now on the governor to begin. I want to bring in our State House reporter Devin Bates, who is standing by just outside House chambers in that lobby there. He was listening in to both the governor's speech and looking and seeing what was going on inside the House chambers there. Devin, what were some of the big takeaways for you? Welcome back. Let's talk health matters. Joining me now is infectious disease physician with the University of Vermont Health Network, Dr. Tim Leahy. Dr. Leahy, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
Let's talk about this monkeypox threat. First of all, we've all seen the images, some of the pictures, this raised rash. What are you concerned about right now when it comes to these images?